everyone, welcome back to the EarthX TV stage here at EarthX 2025. My name is Dylan, I'll be your host, and we have two amazing guests today in the sustainability world. We are joined by Stacy Savage and Julie Andersen. Thank you so much for being here today. So let's start with you. Stacy, tell us a little bit about your organization, Zero Waste Strategies.
So Zero Waste Strategies is an environmental consulting firm, and we work with businesses, local governments, institutions to help them reduce waste to landfill. And we do that through waste audits. Yes, we get up to our elbows for 6 hours sorting somebody else's trash, and we develop reporting to figure out, well, what does the trash stream look like? What's in the recycling stream? Is there food waste in the recycling stream? Is there cross-contamination issues? So we get to get all of that data and compile or format a report for our client. And then we go on and take that information and we can directly impact education training for employees. And after that, then we go on to help develop green marketing strategies to help them shout it from the rooftops of what they're doing for green operations. And then eventually, if they want to, we do true zero waste certification for facilities, for buildings. And this is under the U.S. Green Building Council. So it's kind of like LEED for energy and water, but it's the sister organization or the sister standard for just addressing trash and getting down to that 90% waste diversion goal.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. And Julie, tell us a little bit about Ocean Plastics International.
So Plastic Oceans International, we're a film dialogue, action-driven, community-based education program. So what we do is we use film and we take it to local organizations in different communities. And we are more interested not in the film message itself, but we're interested in how people are receiving the film message. So we have the community discuss it, we record those discussions, and in those discussions we can actually identify nuanced areas of knowledge gaps and barriers that really are preventing and creating those actions, rather than focusing on sometimes the initial emotional reactions to the films that can be heavy and inhibit action. We actually are trying to focus on the things that really are stimulating those actions. And really this comes about in Plastic Oceans is that it's a full film library. And the idea is that there is no one solution to plastic pollution. So we can't show a film and hope that the world changes or every community changes. So this is very community centric. And we work with a collective of communities that buy into this and repetitively, iteratively, and adaptively use these films to keep reaching that goal or that action to end plastic pollution in their community.
That's really interesting because we're all inundated by media all the time, whether it's TV, social media, our phones, and we've all seen, a sad video or something that affects us, and then we scroll right on by and we move on. So how did you come up with the concept to get these communities to stop, to talk about it, and come up with action items to fix these problems?
So my background originally it's public health, community education, and I was 25 years ago trained it's a top-down education. Teach them and they will change was sort of the approach. And then when I started with the first film that we distributed of Plastic Ocean, I was going around the world, screening the film, giving talks, and the conversation was never about solutions. It was always this blame, like, oh, but if America did this, isn't it an Asia problem? Isn't this China's fault? And what was lost was the discussions weren't being captured. And I was then starting to really understand film distribution and how are we using film I can see that it's inspiring people, but how are we using film to actually create actionable change? And then I was inspired by Jeff Skoll of participant media. And the term participant media is, the viewer is a participant. And how do I turn the people watching these films, wanting to watch these films, wanting to change, how do I turn them into participants and to foster bigger and better dialogue towards actionable change?
Yeah, that's great. And Stacy, how about you? How did you start Zero Waste Strategies?
I was sitting.
Sounds like a good story.
Yeah. I was sitting in my husband's truck coming home from work, and I was at a stoplight, and I was dazed, just, long day of work. I was just kind of la la la, and something just shot through me like a bolt of lightning. I sat up, and I said, "You need to start a business." You know the lawmakers, you know their aides, you know the county commissioners, you know the city council members in the Austin area. Like, why aren't you the hub of zero waste, protocols and strategies? So that's what I did. The very next day, I went straight down to the Travis County Courthouse. I dropped my $17 and I got my DBA. It was the best decision I ever made 12 years ago, because now we're working with major corporations like Dell and AT&T, Apple, Nestle, municipalities like the City of Austin Recycling Department, and even, long-standing institutions like Boston University. So it was an epiphany.
Yeah, you literally had that epiphany moment.
I just went for it.
Yeah. Well, I love how you're both focused on solutions and educating people. From your experience, with your films, with your community activities, what could some action items we all take from what you've learned and apply to our lives?
So the way that you pick a solution, the thing is that there is no one solution with plastic pollution, right? So it is picking whether it's zero waste or it is going against reducing single-use plastics or advocating, but you pick one and then you're driving your community and the discussions towards that action. And it really is engaging with your community. I think you were saying all of this media, we forget that we need to connect with each other, talk to each other, build the community trust that allows us to implement these solutions at the community. And then, so really that's the takeaway. So not only when you watch a film, criticize it, talk to your friends why you hate it, what was good, why wouldn't it work? Because it's that connection that we do find those sparks of opportunities for creative innovations and actionable change.
Yeah, when you plan these events, how do you pick what film you show to these communities?
So I'll use an example that we've recently done in Chile, in Santiago, Chile, and we're working towards the national circular economy plan that they have. And one part of their circular economy plan at a national level is for a circular culture. And for that to happen, there has to be a lot of buy-in. So we ended up showing a film about the fishing industry, because that is a major issue in Chile. And we targeted different municipality government leaders, youth university leaders, businesses, and each of them all watched the same film, but had very different takeaways and where they thought the problems lied. But the takeaway was they all wanted to collaborate differently, and that allowed us to have we worked with the city to have then a community film festival. We worked with combining the governments with the universities there to have a discussion, because then there was a constructive progress to work forward towards actually achieving the National Circular Economy Plan.
Yeah, wow, that's an amazing example. And Santiago, Chile is a beautiful place. It sounds like a good time. And Stacy, how about you? What is, one kind of call to action you can share from your experience working in zero waste that the average person could apply to their lives?
I would say check your consumerism. And I know it's hard to do, and it's not something that we're readily or easily able to do, but it is something that we can take a look at. In your budgeting, as far as a monthly budget for your family, making sure that your food is not going to spoil, making sure that you are properly rotating items in your refrigerator, that you know what your inventory is, not over purchasing and buying something that you don't need. I mean, personally, I have 4 bottles of soy sauce in my pantry because I didn't do an inventory check, and I just kept buying because I thought I needed it. So that's something that anybody can relate to, and making sure that you're just being as conscious as possible whenever you do go make purchases. Looking at a company's green record. Shoppers are really savvy these days, and it's important that consumers are able to show and vote with their dollar. Show companies that this is what we will accept and this is what we will not accept.
Yeah, I mean, we have everything we ever need at our fingertips. Any product, food, it can all be delivered. So yeah, just kind of think about that next order you place. It has a big impact. If we all apply that to our lives, huge impact. Can you share one of your bigger success stories? I know obviously it was a success kind of right from that lightning bolt. Now you're 12, 13 years in. you've worked with some really big organizations, but what is something that stands out to you where you thought to yourself, wow, we're really making an impact here?
Well, whenever I first started in the environmental field was way back in 2013, and I was actually a door-to-door grassroots community activist. And I knocked on doors all across Texas, other states, and I talked to thousands and thousands of people on their front doorstep about these issues around pollution, recycling, holding our government accountable, holding polluters accountable as well. And people were readily wanting to help sign petitions and donate money to our nonprofit and get handwritten letters to their lawmakers or the heads of these companies. And we built up that public pressure, and we were able to get 2 key pieces of legislation passed at the state level here in Texas. One was for computer recycling, and it was a take-back program so that the company is responsible for their end of life of their products, not the taxpayer. And then we repeated that victory in 2011 with a television take-back law. And so all manufacturers that sell in Texas, like Dell, like HP, Apple, Panasonic, they are all responsible for the end of life of their products. But whenever I shifted to business ownership, and it was a big mental shift for me, I no longer I was no longer on the outside pointing and shaming the operations on the inside. What I was doing was immediately I flipped to the other side of the coin. I was on the inside working with their internal teams of these big companies and helping them get these zero waste protocols into place. And so it was definitely a complete 180 for me from being an activist turned business owner, because now I could help from the inside rather than harm from the outside.
Exactly. It's easy to point and say, hey, you're doing something bad, but it takes a lot more work, bigger challenge to get in there and apply those solutions. So that's great. Appreciate you doing that. And Julie, how about you? Share, one of your big success stories. I mean, obviously you're international with the organization.
Well, Chile has been one of our bigger success stories where we can see from the grassroots all the way to the national level. I mean, we shot a film in Easter Island, or locally it's Rapa Nui. We did a film where we also had a Guinness World Record with the first person to swim around the island to really raise awareness about plastic pollution, microplastics. So we had that. And then on top of that, we were the first nonprofit in Latin America to actually be part of having Chile join the Plastics Pact, which is an international plastics pact. And then also we've played a huge role in actually having a single-use materials ban countrywide, and really advocating for the circular economy. And it is taking all of the local communities throughout Chile, which it's a really large country, and how do you collectively get all the organizations to understand, get the same message. And again, this is why I think film has been a really useful tool, because it's the same message delivered across all of the organizations across the country, and really gearing them towards supporting the national circular economy plan.
Well, I love that. I love how, again, both of you are taking action to take all the information that's out there and apply it in a positive way. As we wrap it up, really quick, what's a quick way to get in contact and support your organization, Plastic Oceans?
PlasticOceans.org. See our films, support the blue communities that we work with around the world, and learn. I used to say when I first started, I was like, I had a takeaway. I was like, stop using plastic, don't use a straw, don't do that if you can't. But really, it's about learning. You don't need to go and preach to everyone. We all need to learn how our systems work and how our communities work, and keep an open mind and find common ground.
Yeah, exactly. And Stacy, how about you? Quick little call to action. How can we support what you're working on?
You can find us at zerowaste.org, and that's the number, zero, not the word, spelled out. And I think, just a simple call to action is just be more aware. Be aware of your consumer habits. Be aware if, you want to throw something away. Is it donatable? Does it still have some life left in it? I think, just some small changes that we can do every single day per household, and teaching our children how to do that as well, instilling them with green sustainability habits is really going to serve them as they grow up.
Well, thank both of you so much for joining us here today on the EarthX TV stage. And
Thank you
to everybody who tuned in to EarthX TV. We'll see you on the next episode.
Thank you.
Give it up for them, guys. Great job.
Thank you. Thank you.